More details now on our top story. The Judicial Service Commission has voted for Western Cape Judge President Hlophe to face impeachment. The vote comes 4 months after a Judicial Conduct Tribunal found Hlophe guilty of gross misconduct for trying to influence 2 judges during former President Jacob Zuma's 2008 corruption trial. Now, if impeached, he would be the first judge in South Africa to be removed from office. At the same time, Mogoeng has less than 2 months left of his term as Chief Justice, with no word yet on his replacement. Let's discuss these issues now with researcher Mbekezeli Benjamin, who is with civil society organisation Judges Matter. Good evening and thank you so much for your time. When the news broke just a few hours ago that Hlophe is now going to face a vote in Parliament by MPs on whether he should be impeached, I thought back to, was it just last week, when he was presiding over the vote for the new Speaker in Parliament. It just seems strange to a layman such as myself why MPs will get to vote on impeaching a judge. Explain why it works this way.
Good evening, Sally, and good evening to the eNCA viewers. Well, it's quite simple, and it's one of the basic principles of our constitutional democracy is that there is a separation of powers between the government, Parliament, and the judiciary, and each of those must hold each other accountable. So the judiciary holds the other two to account, and while Parliament also holds the executive and the judiciary to account. So it's a system of checks and balances, they call it. And so in this case, the judicial side has dealt with the complaint, and now they're referring it to Parliament, who must then take the final decision.
And what sort of majority is required? Is it just a simple majority or a 2/3 or more than that?
To remove a judge, the Constitution says that you need a 2/3 majority. So the underlying reason for that is that it shouldn't be easy to remove judges, because otherwise politicians will never obey court orders, because if a court order were to go against them, they will want to remove that judge. And so you need 2/3 majority to remove a judge from office.
We know that political parties often vote in a bloc when it comes to matters in Parliament. Is each MP free to vote according to how they interpret the findings of the Judicial Conduct Tribunal?
Yes, each MP should vote freely when it comes to a question such as this. So how the process will happen from now is that the Judicial Service Commission will send both minority and majority decision to the National Assembly, and then the Speaker must call a debate of Parliament, and she must give members of Parliament this decision from the Judicial Service Commission. Members of Parliament must each study that decision and come to their own conclusion on whether or not to remove Judge Hlophe from office. And this will be a decision that they must take through searching their own conscience and deciding whether or not it is correct to remove him or not.
Does Judge Hlophe have any possible option for appeal at this point?
Well, it's an unprecedented situation, but in a situation such as this, because there was a tribunal that sat, and the tribunal looked through all the facts and looked at all the evidence, and it came to the decision that he was guilty of misconduct. Now that the Judicial Service Commission has confirmed that decision, there shouldn't be any space for any sort of appeal unless there was any material irregularity in the Judicial Service Commission's decision. And even then, it's not an appeal, but it's a review. So it's to correct whatever irregularity that happened. If there wasn't, then I'm afraid there isn't much that Judge Hlophe can do to set aside the decision.
All right, now while I ask my next question, I'm just going to ask you to take your microphone earplug cord away from your collar, because I think that's causing slight sound interruptions. It's not the end of the world, but while I ask the question, no, it's fine. It's been mostly okay, but it is scratching just a little bit. I want to move on to the issue of Chief Justice Mogoeng. We know that he's on long leave, but he's got less than days before he's actually finished his term. We haven't yet heard from the President on who the new Chief Justice is going to be. This is an absolutely pivotal role. Explain to me how the President gets to decide this and whether he should decide it alone. It is his right, but do you think that given the accusations we're seeing against the judiciary, just today, in fact, we saw Dali Mpofu in the matter of Ace Magashule's suspension as ANC SG. He's accusing 3 High Court judges of being biased in favour of Jesse Duarte and ultimately Cyril Ramaphosa over that suspension letter she sent out. So do you think that it's important, perhaps, for the President to make this decision quickly and or perhaps change the way this decision is made for Chief Justice?
That's an important question, Sally. The Constitution gives the President the full prerogative to decide. And in the past, the President has simply picked a name and asked that the JSC interview the person, and then members of parliament consult on it. But what we are calling for is that the President should break with the past and try to have a more transparent and open and competitive process. This will address some of the concerns that you've raised about, well, all kinds of allegations that are thrown at the judiciary. So what we are calling for is that President Ramaphosa should appoint an advisory committee that will call for nominations, and they should come up with a short list of at least not more than 3 names. And those 3 names should then be sent to the Judicial Service Commission for a public interview. And at that interview, each candidate should be given an opportunity to explain to us as the public why they want to be Chief Justice, what vision do they have for the judiciary, how are they planning to deal with the post-COVID world for access to justice. And at that interview, we should all be satisfied that only the best candidates, only the best candidates have been considered, and then the process should unfold where the President consults with members of leaders of opposition parties in Parliament, and then he makes the ultimate decision on who should be appointed as Chief Justice.
Very interesting suggestion. Thank you so much for chatting to us this evening and explaining complex legal proceedings, unprecedented legal matters so simply for us. That was, of course, researcher Mbekezeli Benjamin, and he is with the Society Group Judges Matter.